I will provide some slides of introduction to the topic and to the novelties before Oscar will provide a live demo on the core novelties and in particular on how the verification process will go. I could present topics that are well known by some or most of you, but the reason is that from some questions that Digital Europe anticipated to us that they received, I have the impression that some of the participants today are new to EPREL, so I will make a quick overview in order to set a common denominator for everybody. So let's start. Basically, everything comes from Article 12 of a Framework Energy Labeling Regulation of 2017. Article 12 sets an obligation of a commission for the creation of a product database consisting of a public part, a compliance part, and a portal leading to these two parts. So this abstract concept of a product database became concrete with the EPREL project. And here on the screen, you can see the URLs of the web interfaces that I think you already know. Maybe not all of you have discovered already the last link to the portal. This is a portal that we have opened last in April. And the goal is to have a one-stop shop where all everything about the eco-design and labeling legislation is put together and is available to everybody, organized according to the expected type of visitor. And in particular, there is a section that is being created precisely for you as suppliers. I will address suppliers, although the participants are a bit mixed today. So there is a specific question for suppliers where you will find the details of what I will quickly present today. So let's start with who must register, because a recurring question is who should register. Well, the framework legislation is clear on this. The suppliers must register any model of product groups that are in the scope of the legislation before they place on the market the first unit of such model. What are suppliers? The definition says manufacturers established in the EU, and for manufacturers in third countries, the importers or the authorized representatives. So these figures, these subjects must register the products that they place on the European market in EPREL before they place it. What does it mean, placing? It means that before the first unit of a model comes out of a factory, or before it arrives in a container, let's say in a harbor in Amsterdam, so before any official can spot the existence of this unit, then you should have it registered in EPREL. Why are we requiring the verification that we will explain later on? Basically because we need to give a guarantee to you as a supplier, but also to protect ourselves as institution from possible false false players, hackers or the like that could register products and creating image damage for you as a supplier and also for institutions. What we request is that a proof of identity and a proof of establishment in the EU. Why this? Because the compliance control activity is performed by authorities at the national level. And they need to be able to enforce compliance. So in poor words, they need to have a door to knock, a bell to ring to enforce the compliance. So issue a penalty, a bill, a request of correcting data, taking out the products from the market, etc. Very quickly, this is an overview, a graphical overview of the architecture of a system. It does not correspond necessarily to the physical situation, but very quickly, you as a supplier represented here, you can enter the registration of your models in 3 ways. So either with a machine-to-machine environment called e-delivery. This is used by the biggest producers for thousands of units at once. Or you can use a web interface where you can enter one by one all the parameters, or again, using the web interface, you can upload in a single XML file the description of tens or hundreds of different models. This image here represents the database that is basically three parts or two. It's basically 2 parts. One part is for data that is public. Another part is intended for compliance control purposes. And this includes, but not only, includes documents that are deemed necessary by the authority to perform their controls. So could be typically test reports or installation manuals, depending on the product group, but documentation that the authority has to be able to examine in order to control if what you have declared is correct or not. Something I want to mention is please upload here all and only the documentation that is necessary for this purpose, because we have seen that some companies are uploading any manual of everything as if this was a kind of a repository of a documentation. Now, this is just for compliance control authorities. The authority itself can have access to all this data using a separated different interface, and the authority also records the results of inspections in a system that is known as ICSMS. So this is a database of cases, and there is a link established between these cases of inspection, these results of inspections, and the model in EPREL if the inspection was about a registered model. What you enter in this database remains only visible to you until the day that you set as date of placement on the market. So until that day, only you can see that data and still correct it. From that day, the public part, first of all, that day everything becomes visible to the authority, so both public part and documentation, but the public data is mirrored overnight in the internet cloud in a separate system, where it becomes also visible to anybody with different means, either with an interactive interface that you will know, this EPREL interface. The registration is also visible via QR code, but is also accessible with the use of APIs. I will provide to you an example of this use by dealers of online stores, for example, but this can be used also for statistical purposes, market research, etc. So the public information was not the first goal of the regulation of this Article 12 for establishing the database, but since the data is there, more and more uses have been found, and now EPREL is becoming more and more a kind of compass to assess what are the green products, for example, according to the taxonomy, and is a tool to select what are the products that deem to be covered by subsidies, by VAT reductions, to be included in tendering procedures, etc. Because EPREL provides a tool to assess which are the models in the two highest significantly populated classes. So this is also creating some competition to appear in these classes in order to be selected for possible public procurement, etc., etc. Something to mention is that EPREL has been conceived to record energy efficiency information, but more and more we are covering not only the energy efficiency during the use phase, but during the entire life cycle of products. So more and more also the embodied energy, so the energy that is used to make the products, is taken into consideration. We cannot put requirements on this energy for manufacturing or transporting, but we are progressively setting ways to fully exploit this energy that has been consumed to produce the good. And typically the requirements are covering reuse, reparability, etc. So maybe that for light bulbs this is not very relevant, but for smartphones, for computers, for white goods, this is more and more important. Something for you to know: when you first register a model, the moment that you enter the brand and the model identifier and you save this, EPREL produces a number that is the key of your registration. This univocal number is included in the QR code that EPREL immediately produces for you. So here on the top right, you see an example of a QR code. When you scan it, the aspect is this, and basically with a smartphone reading it, you go to the page of EPREL where the full description of the product appears. On top of this way, for searching a product via the user interface, you can search by brand, by model identifier. You can put filters to select, to group products according to specific criteria. You can sort them. You can use up to 3 sorting criteria simultaneously. You can assess the class population, etc. And another way to search for products is using APIs. And about the information in the non-public part, basically the framework regulation lists what kind of information has to be put there, and in the interface in EPREL you find all these groups, so that you can you can indicate for every PDF that you upload to which category of information this document responds. Or for all regulations that have been reviewed from 2019, the parameter values that are crucial to check the correctness of a data that you display in public. These are entered as values. And another thing that is only visible in the compliance control interface is the equivalence of products. So how it works, if you have different equivalent products, where equivalent means that all the values of the parameters included in the label and the product information sheet corresponds, then you have to register the first completely, but then for all subsequent recording, you just indicate a brand, a model identifier, you indicate to which model this is equivalent, and then you don't need to enter any other thing. So only member state authorities can see these equivalence. It is not visible to the consumers. Again, we have created a kind of sandbox. We call it acceptance platform. This is a clone of a production platform where you can play creating your fake organization and products and test, for example, if you have software to automatically upload the data. This is a place where you can freely test. This data is periodically purged, so don't worry, no authority will look at this. The data entry is in three forms, as I anticipated. A feature for you to know, and that may become now necessary or useful, is that you can transfer part or all the models that you recorded. Imagine that your company is merged or is split, a division goes to another branch, etc. Then we provide the possibility of selecting models to be moved to another verified supplier. And now why this may become interesting, because some of the suppliers may not be able to pass the verification because they don't respond to the requirement of supplier. For example, a company established in San Marino that has registered products is not cannot stay as a supplier, so this company has to appoint a company, another supplier that is that can pass the verification, that has passed the verification, and move the models to his company. In this way, all the labels that are in the boxes around remain valid. The only thing that changes is the supplier that appears when you scan the product. And now the core aspect of the novelty is that on 2nd of April, we published, the official journal published a new regulation with some operative details for the functioning of this product database. And the most and the crucial articles in this regulation are those that cover the verification modality. As I mentioned, all this is to ensure that the supplier is established in the EU for the needs of enforcement that I mentioned. We refer to the EIDAS for the seals, but the format of a seal is specified in an ETSI standard. And in this ETSI standard, there are possible formats for the content of this verification. So here there is a nuance, a slight difference in the modalities for verifying legal persons, that is a vast majority, and the natural person. We have a few tanks of them that are natural persons. For the vast majority of you, the EIDAS tool that we have selected is the seal, qualified electronic seal. And as said, the ETSI standard has specified how this seal is made in order to have a possibility to exchange the data. ETSI has indicated 5 possible formats, but for our purposes in EPREL, we need one specific of these formats, the one known as NTR, for National Trade Register. Why this? Because this format includes the number of the registration of your company, supplier company, in a national registrar, typically those that are managed by the Chamber of Commerce, such as in my country, Italy. But in a transitional period, we will still allow the other formats. Why this? Because when we contacted the qualified service providers, we found that not all of them were able, at least when we did this exercise, not all of them were able to provide this NTR version. So we have given some time to providers to create this option, and to you also to find providers that can offer this product. In principle, we have now almost 140 service providers in Europe that can provide this service. They are all listed in this so-called EIDAS dashboard. In the slides, by clicking here, you will get the URL. Basically, you will get a page like this. In principle, all of them should be able to provide the seal. In reality, we have written to all of them with a call for interest, and only about 25 provided feedback confirming that they are interested in supporting the service for EPREL, and that they can provide what is necessary. Then I think that Oscar will show a slight difference that we needed to set for the verification of legal persons and natural persons. Why? Because natural persons cannot have a seal. This is something that is reserved to legal persons. So for natural persons, we have to do some additional steps to verify that the natural persons has established the activity in Europe. But Oscar will provide the details. This is the timeline for entering into force of the requirements. You find it in our portal. What will happen now? Let's start from the suppliers that already got the verification, so before today. Basically, if the verification was done using this NTR version of a seal, it's done. You are not requested anything else unless you change something in the company, you merge, you split, you move, etc. At that point, we would require that you renew the verification with a new seal with the correct data, because sooner or later we would spot this by querying the situation in national registries. If you if you voluntarily verify the company using a seal that is not NTR, then let's say we reward you by not asking anything until 22 April 2027, but at the latest by that day you will have to provide the seal with the NTR information. If you are not verified until you don't pass the verification, what happens? Basically, if you are totally new, you are not able to register anything, any model. So you can register all company information, but you cannot register any model. If you were already in the system and you placed already models on the market, these models don't appear anymore in searches or in selections. This will have an impact in particular on online sales. Something for you to recall is that already the framework regulation sets an obligation on dealers to show the label when selling products online, either showing the full label or showing just the class arrow like this one, and implementing a mechanism called as nested label. So clicking on this arrow, then the user gets the full label and the product information sheet. This mechanism requires that the store knows your registration in EPREL, because we provide APIs so that the store can query EPREL and get this arrow, the product information sheet, and the full label. So in order to put the dealers in a situation to comply with the legislation that requires that they show the label, the implementing act of EPREL requires that you, as a supplier, communicate to the dealer the registration number. So you will be required to tell them this number. Already many of them are doing this. For example, Google is not accepting anymore to promote products if the product is in the scope of legislation and if the registration number is not provided. It's not yet working, but in the next future, if you are not verified as supplier, also in these online stores, the message will appear.